Indeed, Ben, let's take this conversation to a different level. I am having this conversation with two gentlemen, Kibe Mugai, an advocate of the High Court. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, Edwin Sifuna, an advocate of the High Court as well. For purposes of this discussion, we are not implying directly or indirectly that anyone is innocent or guilty. This is a discussion that we need to have as a country. It determines the kind of leaders that we will end up having. Gentlemen, let's begin with that scenario of Moses Kuria. This is a man who's trying to clear his name of allegations of hate speech, and of course that allegation by blogger Robert Alai, but then today he has been cleared to run in the Gatundu South by-election. Is Chapter 6 of the Constitution really working? Kibe, let me begin with you.
I believe that Chapter 6 is in operation and it is working because there are two processes here, and there are at least 3 important High Court decisions on the matter to do with integrity. The important one would be able to say is the case of international conflict and organization, the NGO, versus Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. And in that, a 5-judge bench of the High Court decided that when you are dealing with an integrity, matters to do with integrity of a person seeking elective office, then the High Court must bear in mind that the determinant of who is going to be elected are the people themselves. Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya says that the sovereign power vests in the people of Kenya. And the judiciary, executive and parliament, they exercise what is called delegated power. And therefore the decisive point was, if a question has been reserved to the people by the constitutions, then the judiciary must leave it to the people by not interfering with it. So that effectively what the court was saying in that case is, if in the eyes of the people, Uhuru Kenyatta, then a candidate, and William Ruto are so bad in terms of integrity that they are unfit for their offices, let them decide. They seems to have said these guys are okay. And therefore it follows logically, as long as that decision of the High Court is good law in Kenya, and it remains good law, Edwin, that it is for the people of Gatundu South to decide whether Moses Kuria has any issues of integrity.
Edwin, is that a fair assessment?
Well, I don't dispute that it is the people to decide who is fit to lead them and who is not. But you should also remember it is the same people who promulgated this particular constitution. And in one of the provisions of the constitution, I believe it's Article 99 and also Article 193, the people set certain standards for their leaders. Article 93 requires that before somebody is cleared by the IEBC to run for parliamentary office, for instance, that they meet certain ethical and moral standards. And it goes on to give Parliament the power to actually enact the law to operationalize that particular article. So it is the people of Kenya who wanted that there be certain minimums that somebody who wants to run for office has to meet. Now, I agree with what some of the experts have been saying in the clip that you played just before this, that actually Parliament, in trying to legislate on how to effectualize Article 93 and 193, 99 and 193, they actually watered down what the intention of the people of the country.
Let me bring in Kibe on that particular note. Kibe, have we lowered down these standards now for political reasons?
In a sense, Parliament was always going to ensure that there is an easier way in which the spotlight on them on integrity issue would not be as strong as the one that was desired. But even saying that, it is important to say, in the recent case of Waitito, the case against Honorable Waitito, what Judge Mombi decided, and it is an important issue, is that where a body, and the Leadership and Integrity Act, for example, requires that the body concerned with a particular affair, like in this case IEBC, fails to conduct an inquiry as to the fitness of a person under Chapter 6, then it is open for any person to go to the High Court and challenge the decision approval or disapproval by the concerned body. In this case, it would be IEBC. And therefore, one cannot really be able that all is lost, because it would still require that in the current scheme of things, that IEBC, for example, they would have questions to answer if people with unresolved issues of integrity ends up being permitted to vie for political office. But I hasten to add, it is important to say that, like Kamodho Iganjo was saying, when it comes to criminal offenses, we must be guarded because it is very easy for people to face trumped-up charges, which even in the views of the people themselves, they are trumped-up charges.
Okay,
so that the unresolved questions of integrity must still be raised by the people themselves and must be of some kind of a notoriety.
So, Edwin, what really is the function of Chapter 6? As we speak.
The intention of Chapter 6 was precisely that, to lock out people who are not fit for public office from running. Is it? It is not working, and it is because of the watering down that was done in Parliament. For instance, Linda, when you look at, I believe it's Section 13 of the Integrity Act, the standard that has been set for what is the moral or ethical standard that has to be cleared. Actually, people are just required to fill a questionnaire asking you, have you ever been involved in misuse of public funds, for instance? You are supposed to, are you going to tick no on your own checklist, for instance? But the concentration on criminal law is not what should happen, because I agree with Kibe when he says on issues of criminal law, first of all, we are hamstrung by the provision of Article 50 that requires that everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty. And also under Article 99, it still requires that before somebody is disqualified from an election, that they have exhausted all appeals in their cases, or even opportunity for rectification of the decision against them.
Okay, let's cross borders a little and look at a scenario in the United Kingdom in 2004. That is, UK's Home Secretary David Blunkett resigned amid accusations that he used his position to fast-track a visa application for a nanny. In his resignation, he said he had done nothing wrong, but said questions about his honesty had damaged the government. Can we have a scenario in the country where people resign when such allegations come up against them? Kibe?
I think this would still take some time, because in my assessment of Kenyans, is that even when you look at Chapter 6, just like criminal law, is something that is supposed to vindicate our ethical and moral values. But I, being one of the Kenyans, I cannot really be able to say that the ethics and values of Kenyans as a society are all that good, that now would make individual Kenyans to feel that you have assaulted them. What do I mean, for example? We see it every day that, for example, people invade public forest, they go cut down trees. Then what happens tomorrow? They demand compensation, and the government actually pays them compensation. So that when politics are right, you have this country where wananchi plus their government actually conspire to violate the law, and it is okay. So such a society, in my view, you cannot measure it with other societies that would probably be offended by this kind of
scenario. Edwin, have we brought this to ourselves?
Yeah. No. I don't think we have brought this to ourselves. And I believe that in passing the Constitution with the requirements in Chapter 6, we recognized our own problems and our own weaknesses. And we said, as much as this is a society that is pervasive in allowing some of these things that Kibe is talking about, we are going to hold our leaders to a higher standard. That maybe if we get the best crop of people to lead us, we might end up in a society that is ideal. And that is why we actually required that those particular conditions be met by anyone who's running for office. And by the way, if you look at Section 13, that seeks to operationalize some of those qualifications that have been set under the Constitution, things like even honesty, like giving honest statements to the public, it is right there in black and white. But we see even statements from cabinet secretaries that are absolutely ridiculous, and everyone sees that this is an open lie, but nobody ever takes responsibility for them.
Gentlemen, we have to end it at that. Kibe Mugai, Edwin Sifuna, advocates of the High Court, thank you so much for speaking to us on the integrity issue. And these gentlemen were helping us to understand the issue of integrity and our leaders. How far have we sunk as a country, and where are we heading? I'm handing you back to Ben Kitili.